Star Trek V failed because it took the wrong lessons from the voyage home. When Star Trek V, The Final Frontier hit theaters in 1989, it had everything a Star Trek fan could want on paper. Captain Kirk searching for God, Spock confronting a long-lost brother, and the crew of the Enterprise facing their most spiritual challenge yet. But instead of soaring like its predecessor, the film stumbled, critically and commercially. The real reason? It misunderstood why Star Trek IV, The Voyage Home, worked so well in the first place. The success of The Voyage Home. To understand why The Final Frontier failed, we first need to revisit the magic of The Voyage Home. Released in 1986 and directed by Leonard Nimoy, The Voyage Home was a surprise phenomenon. It was lighter, funnier, and more accessible than previous entries. Instead of galactic war or philosophical doom, it sent the Enterprise crew back to 1980s San Francisco to save humpback whales. On paper, it sounds ridiculous. On screen, it was delightful. The humor didn't mock Star Trek, it came from character. Watching Kirk swear awkwardly to blend in. Seeing Spock attempt a Vulcan mind meld on a whale. Scotty inventing transparent aluminum with a Macintosh computer. Every gag reinforced what fans already loved about these characters. The stakes were real, but the tone was hopeful. The message was optimistic. And the camaraderie between Kirk, Spock, and McCoy felt effortless. The film grossed over $130 million worldwide and became the most broadly appealing Trek movie to date. Paramount took note. And that's where things went wrong. Mistaking comedy for the formula. When Star Trek V, The Final Frontier went into production, this time directed by William Shatner, the assumption seemed clear. Audiences want more comedy. So The Final Frontier leaned hard into humor. The film opens with a camping trip filled with slapstick beats. Uhura performs a distracting fan dance. Scotty knocks himself unconscious on a bulkhead. Even the Enterprise A feels like a punchline, constantly malfunctioning for comic effect. But here's the difference. In The Voyage Home, the humor emerged naturally from character displacement. In The Final Frontier, it often feels forced. The jokes don't deepen our understanding of Kirk, Spock, or McCoy. They stall the plot. They undercut tension. And when the movie pivots toward heavy spiritual questions, what does God need with a starship? The tonal whiplash is jarring. Instead of balancing levity and meaning, it smashes them together, missing the emotional core. The true strength of The Voyage Home wasn't comedy. It was heart. The crew was unified in a shared mission. Spock's journey toward reclaiming his humanity after resurrection in Star Trek III, the search for Spock quietly paid off. The bond between Kirk and Spock anchored every scene. The Final Frontier tries something similar with Sibik, Spock's previously unknown half-brother. On paper, it's a bold idea. A Vulcan who embraces emotion. A spiritual revolutionary seeking the face of God. But the execution falters. Sibik's ability to share pain with the crew robs them of agency rather than revealing new dimensions. When McCoy relives the death of his father, it's powerful, but the film doesn't linger long enough for the trauma to resonate. Instead, it hurries back to spectacle. The emotional beats feel isolated instead of woven into the story's fabric. The problem of scale. Another lesson mislearned from The Voyage Home was scale. The fourth film proves that a Star Trek story didn't need massive space battles to succeed. It could be intimate, earthbound, character-driven. The Final Frontier attempted to echo that simplicity, but instead of grounding the story, it shrank the spectacle without compensating with stronger writing. Budget cuts plagued the production. The climactic God entity was meant to be a grand visual effect, but ended up looking unconvincing even by 1989 standards. Compared to the visual ambition of Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, or the polished storytelling of The Voyage Home, The Final Frontier felt smaller in the wrong ways. The Voyage Home reduced scale to spotlight characters. The Final Frontier reduced scale and weakened immersion. Humor without consequence. In The Voyage Home, actions had consequences. The Enterprise was destroyed in the search for Spock. The crew faced court-martial. Kirk was demoted. Sacrifice mattered. In The Final Frontier, tension dissolves quickly. The Enterprise is hijacked with,